Good evening. Well, my first plan, thanks to Luann, was to, she messed it up. I was going to yield my extra time to Dave. Sorry, man. I know she rigged that. All right. So, some of you may have heard me say already, I grew up in southern York County, south of Red Line, and if you're from there, you call it the Brogue. If you're not from there, you used to just say Brogue. The Brogue is about 10 miles south of Red Line. It's a little tiny town. You'd never notice it, or area. We were country kids. If I said it was rural, it would be an understatement. I love Brogue so much that I don't live there today. It's the same as it was in the early 70s, and I literally mean that. There aren't that many more houses or anything like that because there's nothing there except fields and woods. Great place to grow up. Nobody had fences around their yards. Fences were for livestock, not for around your yard, which means that all the children in the area, which there weren't that many, we were free-range kids. So were our dogs. They were free-range also. And the topic that I'm going to talk about tonight is that all the important stuff that I need to know, I learned from the dog. So this might turn into a series of stories. But at any rate, so we had a St. Bernard when I was young, Alf. He was not a Cujo type of St. Bernard. He was big, hairy, slobbery, and very loving, and he played rough too. He's a great dog. I loved him. But Alf, once in a while, would roam around, and we had a swamp near our house. It was actually a marsh, but we're not going to split hairs over the difference tonight. Alf would go to the swamp, and he would roll around in the mud and the water, and he'd eventually come back. Now, the mud in this swamp was really special. It was some of the stickiest mud I've ever seen. I actually lost a sneaker in it, which my mother was none too happy about when I came back to the house with one shoe. It was also extremely stinky mud. Rotten eggs smelled good compared to this mud. So Alf would come home covered in this mud. I guess it was like a spa treatment for him. Well, my brother and I would have to hose Alf off. Sometimes we even used shampoo. Well, one summer evening, he went over to the swamp, and he came back pretty late. And it wasn't time to hose him off. Well, this presented a problem because my mom said, "That dog's not coming in the house." And I did a lot of stomping back then when I was a kid. Is two. Dog's not coming in the house. He's sleeping in our little barn. We had a little barn. So, of course, I say defiantly, "Well, if he's sleeping in the barn, so am I. Take your sleeping bag." Grab my sleeping bag, and out I go. So I slept in the barn that night with Alf. I didn't realize it till later on, but the lesson I learned then is that, and I'm going to say people, I'm not going to insult my dogs and say I think of them as people. They're something better than we are. Don't take that personal, but I really love dogs. People who care about one another stick together all the time. No matter how dirty or how stinky we become, we stick together. And I learned that from Alf.